Kuzangpan, a very warm welcome to Bhutan This Week. I'm Tandon Finso. Top stories this week. The Indian government hands over a cheque of 1 billion rupees for the economic stimulus plan. Students who fail classes 10 and 12 will be allowed to repeat in the same government school beginning next year. And Prime Minister Singh Tobge hints at the import ban being lifted at the Meet the Press session. The Indian ambassador to Bhutan, VP Haran, handed over a cheque of 1 billion rupees to the Prime Minister Singh Tobge on Tuesday for the economic stimulus plan. The government of India has committed 5 billion rupees towards the government's stimulus plan. A press release from the GNH Commission states that through the ESP and injection of funds, the government seeks to ease the current financial crunch in the banking sector as well as expand the financial sector's capacity to extend credit for productive economic activities and priority sectors that can create jobs, provide revenues to the exchequer and good returns to entrepreneurs. The ESP will also address the current account deficit and rupee shortage problems. Of the total 5 billion, 4 billion will be injected into the financial sector and 1 billion will be used for special support schemes. Students who fail classes 10 and 12 will be allowed to repeat in the same government school beginning next year. At present, students failing in classes 10 and 12 are not allowed to repeat in the same schools. The government has decided this keeping in mind students who are unable to continue their studies due to economic reasons after failing to qualify for government schools. The students, however, must repeat in the same school, have minimum 90% attendance in the last academic year, no adverse records, and should not have failed in the classes 9 and 11. This is a move promised in the PDP's government's manifesto. Prime Minister Singh Tobge has hinted that the import ban could be lifted in the near future. The Prime Minister was responding to a question on maintaining the gross domestic product of the country at 10% as the PDP had pledged at the recent Meet the Press. Lunchan said that imports and economic activities are important to strengthen a country's economy.
Both savings and investments will expand our GDP and will be good for the long term. We have to learn to produce more so that we can balance our trade. Stopping imports is not the answer. We have stopped imports. The last government stopped imports. That is not the answer. That is cutting off the nose to spite the face. We need to strengthen our economy and we need to produce more domestically to replace some of the unnecessary imports, yes, but we need to produce more domestically so that we can export. We have a free trade agreement with India. We have the world's biggest emerging middle class just outside our border.
The Prime Minister also shared that the formation of the Pay Commission is almost complete. He said the Pay Commission, once formed, would review the salary and allowances of civil servants.
The constitution of Pay Commission and its members are almost ready. As per the rules, we will now submit to His Majesty for approval. After approval and appointment of the chairperson of the commission, we are hoping that within 3 months they will be able to come with recommendations.
An agreement for financially assisting local governments was signed between Bhutan and her development partners on Thursday. The agreement was signed by the Secretary of the GNH Commission, Karma Sitim, and representatives. The agreement earmarks an indicative amount of 1,000 million nultrum for local governments to be used over the next 5 years beginning November this year. The developing partners include Denmark, the European Union, Switzerland, the United Nations Development Programme and the United Nations Environment Programme. More than 700 acres of land in Jimiling under Sarpang Zongkak has been identified as a special economic zone. The process to develop this special economic zone began with a consultative meeting with the stakeholders on Monday. Ishori Gurung has more.
The Special Economic Zone at Jimmeling will have different kinds of industries and recreational facilities among others. It is expected to create around 25,000 jobs according to the Chief Executive Officer of DHI Infra. An official from the Regional Labour and Human Resources Office asked about the kind of job that will be created. To this, the CEO said it will offer all kinds of jobs.
Opportunities, finance and accounting opportunities, technical skills, non-technical skills, labor requirements. So I think people from DTI would have a lot of opportunities, I would think. Engineers and a lot of support staff would also have a lot of opportunities.
He said the creation of this special economic zone will minimize rural-urban migration, promote brand Bhutan, diversify economic activities and promote balanced regional development. A man from Jimmeling pointed out that erecting high-tension electric pole on private land should be avoided. In case it cannot be done, he suggested compensating land with land to the affected owners. To this, the regional manager of BPC said, in case a private land is affected by erecting high-tension electric poles for mega projects, the affected party will be compensated either with land or money depending on the order from the National Land Commission. However, if a private land is affected by electric poles erected for personal use, it will not be eligible for any compensation. The Special Economic Zone, spanning over 733 acres of land, will be the biggest Special Economic Zone in the country. 40 acres of private land belonging to 28 households were acquired for the project, apart from the government land. Compiled for Karmawandi, Ishwari Gurung, BBS News, Galifu.
The Ministry of Labour and Human Resources has revised the minimum wage rate for the lowest level of unskilled workers in the country. The revised wage is 125 nultram per day and it will come into effect from February 1st next year.
The revision was done considering inflation and the resultant effect on the low-income group. The ministry will issue a national circular tomorrow.
We have revised the minimum wage rate for unskilled workers as it was approved in the cabinet yesterday. Unskilled workers will now get 125 nultram per day, and over a month it amounts to 3,750 nultram.
The revised wage rate will come into effect from February 2014. Till then, the minimum wage rate for the lowest level of unskilled workers will be 100 nultram a day. This rate was first fixed by the National Minimum Wage Committee in 2011. These unskilled workers include both Bhutanese and non-nationals working in construction and masonry. For BBS, this is Pemal Hardin's report.
Due to unstable links, internet connectivity all over the country was disrupted on Tuesday. Various offices, financial institutions and internet users were affected. The officiating general manager of Drugnet, Tashifunso, says the problem was the first of its kind. He explained that the two links to Phintsling and Gilifu from Thimphu were unstable and flapping intermittently. Tashifunso said they could not notify the public on time as the problem was unforeseen. To avoid similar connectivity issues in the future, Drugnet will have a high-capacity independent link between Thimphu and Phintsling in a few weeks' time. Once in place, Drugnet assures that such problems will not surface again.
It was planned a long time before. We were just waiting for the fibre to be approved between Thimphu and Phintsling. So what we are planning is we will be building up a high-capacity link soon between Thimphu and Phintsling. It is going to be a 10 Gbps link. It will be on a separate fibre. It will be an independent link just for data connectivity. So once we have that, in addition to what we already have, it becomes a redundant link. One fails, the other one picks up.
The Ministry of Labour and Human Resources has planned to send some 30,000 Bhutanese to work abroad over the next 5 years. This is in line with directives issued by the Cabinet Secretariat, stating that the ministry should explore avenues for employment overseas.
The Labour Secretary explained that from the current year to 2017, 120,000 people will look for jobs, but not all of them will be able to get employed in the country. Therefore, the ministry came up with a plan to send some 30,000 Bhutanese to work abroad. So from the end of this year, the ministry is planning to send 5,000 to 7,000 people annually till 2017.
We have looked at the absorptive capacity of the economy and the number of Bhutanese who will be entering the labour market. So when we calculate it, then we feel that between 2013 to 2017, about 120,000 new labour force will be entering the labour market. And looking at our absorptive capacity of the economy, we feel that not all will be absorbed in the country. So we are planning to send about 30,000 Bhutanese over the next 5 years to work outside.
The Secretary said the ministry has planned to pilot the initiative with countries where English is spoken. These countries are Australia, Canada, Singapore, Japan and Thailand. The ministry has also looked into occupations like IT, accounting and financing, sales representatives, caregivers and teaching.
We have selected the occupations, it's just recommended, occupations in which there is a huge inflow of workers but not able to absorb within the country. For example, ICT. We have hundreds of ICT graduates coming into the country every year and they are not able to find jobs in the country. So we thought we will try to export ICT graduates outside. So these are very selective but it's very tentative and it will depend a lot on the host countries.
A regulation is also being drafted by the ministry to ensure that the Bhutanese workers while working abroad are paid well and protected.
So the regulation is basically to govern the employment agents. We'll be licensing employment agents and the employment agents will have to negotiate employment conditions with their counterparts in the host countries. And these are all aimed at ensuring that our people are not exploited and not abused and they are paid well. So if these conditions are not fulfilled, we will not be willing to send them.
For now, the ministry is hopeful that this initiative will be a success. For BBS, this is Pemal Hardin's news report.
Next time you visit Samtsi, make sure you do not forget to carry your medicines. This is why. The forsaken town of Samtsi is known for many inabilities, and one particular inability would be finding medical shops since there is none. In such a case, the dispensary of the Samtsi General Hospital is the only store many residents and villagers go to find medicines. But medicines and drugs which are not available in this dispensary have to be bought from across the border.
You spend more than what you actually need to spend. For instance, I need to pay about 20 Nultrum to travel in a taxi to get across the border. I bought a medicine for cough, which is MRP 95 Nultrum, but I was charged 100. In total, I had to pay 25 Nultrum extra. So if we had a medical shop within Samtsi, I think it would benefit most of us.
The only medical shop in Samtsi was closed about 2 years ago after the owner died, and it never opened thereafter. The Drug Regulatory Authority said they have not received any letter from locals in Samtsi to open a medical shop. but any competent Bhutanese with certificate of pharmacy is qualified to open a medical shop. Meanwhile, with medical shops not likely to come soon, people here will continue to do what they have been doing for the last 2 years, that is traveling across to this border town in Chamorchi. Medicines and prescribed drugs are plenty, but emptying the pockets of poor who will need to travel often. Compiled for Sonam Finso, this is Tandon Finso for BBS News. The more than 2-decade-old Kamji Finso Pelri Hakang in Chuka is now in a precarious situation. The Hakang and its surrounding structures are at the mercy of frequent landslides.
Located on a hilltop, the Kamji Finso Pelri Hakang under Gelingeog in Chuka was built in 1987. Today, the Lhagang is in a vulnerable position with landslides occurring on either side of the Lhagang. The Kamjilam says the area became prone to landslides after the Phuntsling-Thimphu highway widening works in 2008 and 2009.
The landslides have caused cracks on the guest house and the butter lamp offering house. As the rain is very severe in this area, there are chances that the houses could collapse one day. The landslides have also destroyed the fencing.
Lampema Doji adds that a water tank built on the hill had also collapsed after a landslide during the monsoon a few years ago. The Gelingap says the plight of the Lhagang was shared at the second Dzongkhag Tsukdu in 2010 and even this year as well.
An official from Dantak did visit the site after we filed a complaint. They promised us a wall, but then it has not been constructed till date. The landslides have almost reached the Lhagang now. We have plans to construct a kitchen, toilets and a guest house in the area. But with the frequent landslides, we are not confident about building new structures.
Project Dantak, in the meantime, has built a small parapet below the guest house and a house with butter lamps. The commander of the Dantak task force recently visited the site.
The area has been very critically examined and the site has also been seen. Technically, the area is very stable as of now. As you can see, there is a lot of vegetation. So there is no immediate danger to the site there. We will be taking immediate action, basically keeping the religious sentiments in mind. We've already started some bit of restoration activities.
The commander also said that the existing parapet would be extended by about 20 meters. The extension work has already begun. For Sonam Wangdi, Namgizam for BBS News.
When a tourist came out of Paro International Airport on a Segway, many Bhutanese were awed. This is probably the first time a Segway is being used in Bhutan. Tenzin Rabge caught up with the 67-year-old tourist and his Segway.
Alan Bass is from the United States of America. After a stroke 17 years ago, his body weakened and he could not walk as much as he used to. Alan then bought a Segway and now he goes everywhere with it. A Segway is a two-wheeled, self-balancing, electric-powered vehicle. Alan Bass bought his 13 years ago. He has been using it ever since. Alan lets me take the Segway for a spin. It is quite fun.
Very intuitive. The main thing is don't go fast.
Alan has used his Segway in a couple of places in Thimphu already, and navigating Thimphu is not a problem for his Segway.
But here it's just great, and it's so much fun. When we went to the school earlier today, we got to leave to let the children get on it, and they would drive it around, and so it's fun. I like to show people what it's like to get on it.
The Segway can handle steep roads quite well. Alan demonstrates how easy it is to use and finds an appreciative audience in the people around him. The price of the Segway is a bit steep though, at $6,000. The only Segway crossing the parts of Bhutanese may be Alan's. Denzin Rupke, BBS News.
That's all we have for you this week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tanin Finso saying goodbye.